I'd like to start by having do a little quick survey. We don't need anything fancy. Just raise your hand, please. But who here came to this conference today via some form of electric transport? Raise your hand. It's quite impressive. This is a good audience for this talk, then. I've entitled my talk, Here Comes the Sun, because this is about making vehicles that can power themselves. In the Netherlands, as was just demonstrated, we are one of the best countries in the world for electric vehicle adoption. As you can see here, there's over 170,000 electric vehicles registered in the country as of, I believe, last week, when I got this number out. And this green curve here is an increase. You can see it growing quite rapidly, this exponential increase of battery electric vehicles. So these are really vehicles that are fully electric. And part of that is because the Netherlands has made a very big investment in making sure that we have the highest number of charge points per capita of, I believe, anywhere in the world. We might be competing with Sweden on that, but at this moment, we have over 40,000 public charging points available. And of course, this is a very important part of having the electric vehicles, because of course, one of the main barriers to buying electric vehicles for most people has to do with range anxiety. This picture looks a little different when you start putting these signs in. For many people around the world, electric vehicles or vehicles and mobility are about freedom. They're about individual choices and being able to take yourself to where you want to go, when you want to go, and not have to depend necessarily on public transport schedules or potentially the availability of public transport. Of course, here in the Netherlands, we have a lot of that public transport and we can ride our bikes around, but not everywhere is that the case. So, for example, even though I live here in the Netherlands, and even though both myself and my partner work in sustainability and in renewable energies, 2 years ago, we went out to buy a car. We wanted to buy an electric car, but we ran into a really big problem. I live in an apartment building, so I don't have a designated parking spot out front, so I can't install my own charging point there. Instead, I have to solicit the government and then the local municipality to install a charging point for me. And they told me it was going to take them 1.5 years to install that point. So that was 2 years ago. Unfortunately, we needed a new car then, so we had to buy a car that was not an electric vehicle. Our next car will be an electric vehicle because we've now asked for this charge point. But as you can see, for many people around the world, this issue of availability of charging is a problem. That is about to change. These two companies, one, Sono Motors in Germany, and our own local company here in the Netherlands, Lightyear, are re-engineering and rethinking mobility to make cars that charge themselves from the sun. In both cases, they're putting solar panels on all of the different surfaces of the car in order to ensure that they can make as much power as possible, given our technologies today, to be able to renewably power mobility and give people choice and freedom. At TNO, we are helping Lightyear develop the PV technology and the solar technology that needs to go into the car. So this is a close-up of the panel that's actually on the functioning prototype. And we at TNO, with funding from the Ministry of Economic Affairs here in the Netherlands, have tried to take the low-cost, high-throughput manufacturing, demonstrated reliability technologies of solar and crystalline silicon solar cells that exist today and adapt them and integrate them into the vehicle. We are doing this together with Lightyear to make this a reality and to design for a real system. Now, what this means is that we've had to take crystalline silicon cells, we've had to package them in such a way that they can bend and be aerodynamic and be efficient for the vehicle. In addition, we've had to make sure that they are safe. The modules that you see in the field were not designed to be put on top of a car and move down the highway at 130 kilometers per hour and potentially smash into things, and need to be safe for the occupants inside as well as the emergency workers that might come to rescue people. We've also had to make them reliable. Solar panels were not designed to be moving around and vibrating all day long. So we've had to rethink what we do in terms of reliability to make sure that these panels will last the lifetime of your car. We've also had to make them sexy. Solar panels are not known for being sexy. But in this case, we want to make them a product that you want on your vehicle, that you choose to do on your vehicle, because we all know that how your car looks is very important. And beyond that, we've actually managed to do this and to take all of those issues and put them into one package. And now this solar module is actually more efficient than the average solar module that you will find in a field. We've also had to look at how to put together the interconnection of these cells to make sure that that will stay more efficient and produce enough energy while the car is driving down the road in very dynamic situations. You can imagine you're going to get shade sometimes, you're going to get rain, you're going to get snow, you're going to get all kinds of different conditions that your system a normal system does not see. So with the current setup and the current technology, we believe that we can achieve at least 8,000 light kilometers a year in the Netherlands. If you're in a sunnier spot, that should go up to 14,000 to 15,000 light kilometers. And in addition to that, it's going to be a safe product, and it will reduce the need that you have to actually find a charging point by as much as it can reduce your charging moments during the year by as much as 60%. So that means if you're charging your car normally 10 times a month, you now need to charge your car 4 times a month on average. And in the summertime, actually, even in the Netherlands, you may not need to plug your car in at all to the wall. In 2030, the Netherlands has made a goal that we want to have our vehicles be 100% of new vehicles be zero emission. But you have to ask yourself, what does zero emission really mean? Of course, this goal means the tailpipe. But if you look at the life cycle of the car and do a full analysis of it, full circular analysis, when you take your electric car and you plug it into the wall, you have to ask yourself, what sort of impact does that have? So this is a map I downloaded from electricitymap.org, and it is the CO2 impact of electricity coming out of the wall socket in these different regions. And unfortunately, there's not every country and every region in the world yet is reporting this, but it gives us a nice illustration. And of course, the more green, it means the less CO2, and the more brown, it's the worse it is. But let's do a quick calculation. So, a very high efficiency internal combustion engine that you can buy today needs approximately 120 grams of CO2 equivalent to drive 1 kilometer. An average EV from 2019 needs approximately 200 watt-hours to drive that same kilometer. So this is roughly a Tesla. So if you do the math, what you find out is that if the energy coming out of the wall has a CO2 footprint of more than 600 grams of CO2 per kilowatt hour, then it's actually it costs you more CO2 to plug your car into the wall than it would be to just buy an efficient internal combustion engine. So to illustrate that, I've put up here on in the corner here a bar to indicate what color approximately that is. So you can look around that map and you can see, you know what? There's a lot of places that are pretty close to that brown, some that are even darker brown. And so in those places, actually including the Netherlands, your CO2 savings is about 25% as compared to the internal combustion engine today. So that's going to require us to change our grid. But as individuals making this choice about mobility, we can make a bigger choice and make a bigger impact now without having to wait for someone else to do it for us. I am a new mother. This is my son. He's 8 months old. He is not quite walking yet, not quite crawling, but he is excited to do it. Oh my gosh. And he is going to, as soon as he starts moving around, he's going to start running. He's going to change my life. I'm sure many of you know exactly what I mean. But of course, what this means to me is that for him, in 20 years, I want his world to be a world that he can live in, as many of the speakers have mentioned today. And at first, when I started thinking about this technology, knowing the limitations of solar, I thought, maybe this is kind of a gimmick. But what I've realized with him is that it's obvious. We're going to put solar on our electric vehicles because it's the only way to really reduce the CO2 footprint and to make our electric mobility and our electric transportation really green and really sustainable. So for him, this is going to be an everyday thing. Now, it may not look exactly like what I'm doing today and the technologies that I'm developing today, but at TNO, we have new solar technologies that are more efficient, tandem technologies that can reach better, like greater than 30% efficiency. And so what we're doing today in our technology is really the first baby steps of making transportation electric and making it more sustainable and making it an option for everybody. And very soon, I think we'll be running. And when we're doing that, we're going to be changing everybody's lives. Thank you.